So go ahead and tell us your name, who you are, and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Sophia Riesberg. I was born as Erica, but about 2 years ago I had this very strange and amazing energetic thing where I ended up embodying the name Sophia after the session that I had. I am a former historian, and in 2009 my dad died. His death helped me remember who I am. So as a former historian, that wasn't my highest calling. It was like what I thought everybody wanted me to do, but what I really wanted to do was help animals. I've been connected with animals since I can remember. My first experience of knowing the interconnectedness of all was when I was 3, and I walked into a gaggle of geese at my family's cabin. The geese surrounded me. I just started petting them and talking to them, and like they were my friends, and I didn't want to leave them because they were my friends. And my parents are freaking out because they're Canadian geese and they can attack, but I didn't want to leave. And so I finally came out and they're like, don't ever do that again. And I'm like, but why? They're my friends. And this is a 3-year-old, so I already know there's no separation at 3.
Oh, where were you raised? Is this where you were
raised?
raised?
I was raised in Connecticut, yep. Little town called Sherman.
What did your parents do?
Dad was a math teacher, and Mom was first a kindergarten teacher, and then she became a church organist.
So higher education was...
Yep, higher education, big deal.
So you had all the scientific reasons why originally what you do wasn't possible.
Right. And when I was 10... I was very, very connected. I did astral traveling as a kid, and I was very, very in tune with who I was. Right. When I was 10, a couple things happened. I heard that I was going to be a doctor, and I didn't want to cut anyone open. So at 10, I'm like, what subject do I like long enough that I could actually get a PhD in? And I'm like, well, I like history because I love studying people in different time periods. Not my highest calling, but that's what my 10-year-old self thought.
That was the right thing to do.
That was the thing I thought I needed to do at the time. Then my grandpa died, and then I shut down my spiritual connections because it was too overwhelmed. He sat on my bed for 3 days after he died, and I was like, nobody could relate with me, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna dial this back because I don't want to be institutionalized. I know there's crazy people in my family that have been institutionalized. I don't want to go down that road. So I just shut it down as much as I could. My intuition has been strong my whole life, but I chose to ignore it until I couldn't anymore.
So how long have you been aware of your connection with animals?
Since I was really little. I've always connected with animals better than humans, but I didn't know why, and I didn't know that I could communicate with them.
What was the evidence that you had to where you knew they were communicating with you?
Oh, how they came up and they connected with me. I mean, for example, V, like they just sense my energy. They sense I'm safe, and like I've had dogs come up to me with their owners and wanting to come home with me, much to the annoyance of the humans.
Right. So hang on.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say? So a lot of people feel that, but is yours more elevated, or is it something maybe they ought to think about paying attention to?
Well, I think everybody has the capacity to do this. What happened with me was I had 8 years of body talk sessions, which helped me remove a lot of layers of my subconscious and helped me reconnect with my intuition more. And then in 2020, I started taking body talk classes. And as I kept going in more and more, the second class I took blew my mind away. It was called Body Talk Access for Animals. And so I'm on a Zoom call and I'm asked to do the Body Talk Access system on a dog who's in Ireland. The owner, human, couldn't call into Zoom. So he used his phone and pointed the phone at his dog and then put the phone on the Zoom call. So I'm barely seeing this dog. Really can't see her very well because it's phone on Zoom, and it's not even on Zoom, it's on a phone. And I start tapping in, and she goes from hyper puppy to sound asleep in 10 minutes before I even finished. And I was like, okay, what is this? I'm connected to her consciousness. And that just blew my mind open to the reality of like the whole quantum field. And then I started taking more classes, and I ended up taking a total of 5 classes. And by the end of the last one, which is called Principles in Consciousness, my mind and my intuition started connecting with consciousness. And through that, I started hearing animals talk to me. And I don't mean in sentences, but I could feel their energy. And something in consciousness comes into my consciousness and tells me what they need. It's really trippy. What I found is in sessions is I'll start writing, I'll call in all of my non-physical support and connect with their consciousness, because it's all about permission. And then I'll hear things that I write down. I can't read what I'm writing, and I just channel it through me, and then the animal's better in like 2-3 days.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So you opened up to energy work at that point. So
right.
What brought you to getting into learning energy healing even more?
How like fascinating it is. Like it was just, so I have a very well-honed intellectual side to me. When I started realizing this, that part of me just lit up and just started going down rabbit holes so I could learn more and understand quantum mechanics and quantum physics, not from the theoretical perspective or the mathematics of it, but from the application of it. And the more I've done sessions, the more beautiful and amazing and trippy and incredible it is. I keep coming back to the word trippy because like that's the academic part of me that's like, this shouldn't work, but the rest of me is like, but it does. And that's the amazing thing. I had a couple weeks ago, I met a Bernese Mountain Dog, and he was used as a breeder. And the humans didn't have the consciousness to know that he was conscious. Last week, he came into my consciousness when I was waking up and asked me for a session. And I felt so grateful that he felt that I was open to help him, that he asked for a session. So I'm waking up and I'm like tuning into what he needs, and I tap it out and he thanks me. Ultimately, like that's my greatest joy, is when I can feel the gratitude of the animal. That's just fantastic.
That's awesome. I mean, that's needed, is what it is.
Thank you.
So you're interested in talking about healing animals, with what's happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
What's your first idea of energetic awareness?
Okay, so the biggest thing is that, we're all energy, right? I had this awareness come into me when I was trying to help a dog a couple months ago whose human does ghost tours. That dog took on all of that energy, took on entities, took on all this stuff to clean the human. The human had no idea he was bringing it into the house, and she ended up dying because she was trying to save him. So what's happened is animals have had this contract with us where they want to be our emotional support. They're tired of that because they're ascending like we're ascending. They're feeling, as at this time, the solar flares that we're feeling. They're feeling the Schumann resonance. They're feeling all the changes that are happening on the earth at this time. And so a simple thing is when we get home, just to sage ourselves before we enter the house, or get a spray and spray ourselves to clear the energy out, because they don't want to take that energy on anymore. They're just done with it. Another thing they've shown me, they actually had me channel an article a couple weeks ago, and they said they really want us to embody the understanding of CAHO, which is a Hawaiian term, which means steward, beloved attendant. Like how we can interrelate with them in a way that we honor them instead of using them for our gratification.
What is it? Energetic accountability?
Yeah, it pretty much is. It's like, how are we showing up for ourselves? It's just bringing more awareness to ourselves. Am I dumping something on an animal, on a friend? Am I like ignoring myself? Am I numbing myself out through addictions? How can I be more present with myself so I'm not energetically throwing up on anyone else?
So basically being, just respecting boundaries with animals.
Animals have some serious boundaries.
What do they want now? I mean, more specifically, just...
Okay, I'll give an example. So in my 20s, I had chow chows. I love to put antlers on and sunglasses on and maul them because they're soft and furry, and they didn't like that. What my current self knows is I didn't ask permission. I just assumed that what I wanted was more important than what they wanted. I didn't care what they needed. So now it's more of a matter of paying attention to what they're asking for. Like cats don't necessarily want to be picked up.
So is it kind of like a previous to now, they wanted to please us. That's it. They
Right.
just wanted to please. And then so
Right.
what's going on now is basically you're saying is they've elevated in their intelligence with the energy field. Animals are definitely getting smarter.
Yeah, especially the ones that are 2 and under.
Do you think they have the ability to think about thinking now?
Some of them do. Some of them do. For sure. I think the younger ones do. The older ones still have the contracts of codependence and energetic support for the humans. The younger one.
Females used to be submissive to their men
Right.
many years ago. It's kind of that same energy.
Right. It's the
And
same.
now they're like, okay, so if you can speak for them right now, body language and tone of voice, and I'm treating you like puppy, yeah, come on, do this for me. I mean, say verbally and physically what they're saying, like share what they're actually saying. You got what I'm saying?
Again, no, we're done. We're done. I don't want to do this anymore.
What do you want?
I don't want to be called a fur baby. I'm not a fur baby. I'm a sentient being that wants to interrelate with you. You've got to take care of me and honor me. I'm here to support you energetically, but not in the ways that we used to. You can't just dump your emotions on me and expect me to clear them for you. You get to do that yourself.
And I'm not your clown anymore. Or
I'm not your
doll.
not your toy. I'm not your plaything. I'm a sentient being that really is asking you to honor that.
And ultimately evolve together in this new evolution. Is it more of a walking side by side in wisdom, them absorbing some of our energy, we absorbing their energy, which creates stability and
Yeah, it definitely is. Like I've seen pictures. She's been with me for years. I have this energetic Bernese Mountain Dog that's waiting to come into the 3D with me. And her task is to work with me in supporting humanity. She's not my servant. She's not my second to. She's my companion. And so when we come together in the 3D, she's going to help me support my sovereignty, her sovereignty, and through us, support the sovereignty of others.
Okay. So basically, how do you see shifts in how we interrelate with our animals? I mean, you just said it.
Yeah. Definitely be more accountable in terms of like, am I projecting my needs onto my animal without permission? That's a simple question. Right. We don't own them. We are stewards to them. So that shift is subtle, but it's really profound because it means that all of a sudden you're not allowing yourself to just do what you want with this animal because you bought it or however you acquired it. You see it as being that's here to co-create with you and not be subjected to your emotional insecurities.
I like that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on CAHO?
Yeah, so it's the first time I heard it was a couple months ago, and I felt it really deeply in my heart. It's really, so most of my life I numbed myself out. A couple years ago I was guided to do heart-based leadership and really get into my heart before I make decisions to lead myself and and be support for others. And so through that heart-based connection, that's where the CAHO can come in because you're no longer in a state of demands and expectations. You're in a state of honoring and respecting the boundaries and
so it's more returning to our innocence or humbling ourselves and allowing vulnerability so that the CAHO or source can help you in direction.
Right.
Okay.
It's like it's how can you show up in that state of devotion? That's kind of the energy that I'm feeling about it. I'll give an example. Today I live with a cat and her name is V. She wanted to be pet. And I have learned how she wants to be pet. And it has nothing to do with how I want to pet her. But she showed up and she wanted to be pet. And so I gave her pets and then she was fine and she walked away. I didn't demand anything of her. I didn't expect her to reciprocate. I just honored where she wanted me to have that connection. And then we were both complete. And I didn't feel attachment. I didn't feel an emotional expectation of her to like sit on my lap or anything like that. It was just like, okay, we had this interaction. She got what she needed. I gave her what I wanted to give her, and then we were complete. And it's a completely different understanding of how to interact and interrelate.
Sounds nicer.
It is. It's kinder.
Can we ever teach them to use the toilet?
Well, I know that it can be done,
Yeah.
but it's also like if she wants to. And that's another thing. It's like that permission component is so important. And it's just like a step back from just expecting. I mean, some dogs want to be dressed up. Others don't. Have to ask. That's it.
What else can we do to support our animals?
Be present with them. Really take their energy in. See who they are.
I always feel like sometimes when I don't want them around, I might be like busy with something. Sometimes, is it true that sometimes they're designed to distract us, to go, hey?
Oh yeah.
So that's part of it.
Oh yeah, like they really want us to be present. I've had a couple instances with V again. One a couple weeks ago, I was watching a movie and she put her paws right here and just closed her eyes like she was meditating, and I could feel she was doing something with me. I don't have any idea what it was, but because I was aware of her doing it, she was able to bring something into my consciousness that I didn't know I needed. Still don't know what it is, but I was present with her. And she is a very powerful teacher, as all animals are, if we allow them to be.
How does energy healing, how does this help animals?
Oh my gosh, so this is so cool. So we all have subconscious programs, animals less than we do, but they have ancestral trauma like epigenetics, and they have anxieties like the dog that barks at tall guys with hats. Everybody knows of a dog that does that, and it's a trauma. Well, that trauma's in their subconscious, and what energy healing does, especially with animals, is because they don't have as many layers of subconscious as we have, and they don't ruminate like we do. I can do a session and that is gone. I think maybe 3 or 4 sessions at the most if there's a lot of trauma, but usually an animal's better with like 1 or 2 sessions. It's fabulous. And I truly don't know what's going to come through, even though I know I use body talk as a basis for what I do. And after I took the 5th class, I was guided through my non-physical team to say, okay, now you're open to whatever wants to come through. And I was like, okay, so I use it as a basis for what I do, but it's not the full system. It's just like the base. And so I just hear what needs to come through. I write it down. I tap it in as the surrogate for the animal. I record the session, and usually in the body talk system, it's called a formula, and it's a whole bunch of strings of different energetic connections. Like if you have something with your kidney meridian, or if you have an allergy, or your lymph system is messed up, or you have an organ that's out of balance, or you have an ancestral thing or a karmic thing, it's all in the system, and I just get guided through it to create this formula for the animal. And I do work with humans too, but the animals, they've asked me to work with them. So after I do the 2 formulas, we tap all of it in, and then if there's any further guidance that comes through, like if there's a supplement they need, if they need more water, or anything like that, that comes through as well. And then it usually is maybe 2 or 3 days at the most, and then they fully integrated it.
How long have you been doing this as a service that you provide for these animals and their friends, their family?
I've been doing it since November 2020.
How is this going to help people that reach out to you for your ability?
As I think everyone knows, animals are like a central part of the family. When we help the animals heal, the family heals. And so as we step into this more awareness, that's part 1 of honoring the animal more and honoring their boundaries and our energetic awareness of cleaning our energy so they don't take it on. And then we support them with energy healing. They can become more sovereign, which is going to have ripple effects throughout the whole family.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about trees too for a brief moment. All life is already communicating. We're the ones that have disconnected from it. As we allow ourselves to tap into our intuition more, we can then connect with the rest of life. Trees talk to me, boulders talk to me, the land talks to me. And it's not how we communicate. It's an energy that you can feel. It's a subtle energy, but everything's a subtle energy. We've gotten numbed out to that, and to allow ourselves to remember and slow down and get out of our anxiety, get out of our traumas, allow ourselves the inner peace that is our innate way of being, will reconnect with all that is And there's so much they want to tell us.
So do you think this woke, divided, separated
It's an illusion.
culture that we have today is part of evolution to eventually reach the point of what you're saying is stop being in so much control?
I think what's happening is the division that's happening is becoming so... I'm trying to come up with the energy. It's so fragmented that it's almost ridiculous. And it's helping us remember all of the things that bring us together as opposed to the strange levels of distraction that we're being pulled away with. And so it's an opportunity for us to go, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good. And it could be any one thing.
How can people get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is on the website heal.me. I have a podcast as well. It's called All Things in the Name of Love. I speak with people about their spiritual journeys to help my listeners with theirs.